Please stand with me for the reading of the word from Matthew chapter 20, 20 to 28. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked a favor of him. And he said to her, "What do you want?" She said to him, "Declare that these two sons of mine will sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your kingdom." But Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." He said to them, "You will indeed drink my cup, but to sit at my right hand and at my left, this is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard it, they were angry with the two brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. It will not be so among you, but whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave, just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." The word of God. You may be seated. I am so grateful for my mother. Mom, I know you will be listening to this at some point because you listen to every one of my sermons. Isn't it wonderful to have a supportive, encouraging mother? If I'm ever feeling a little bit down about myself, I just need to call my mom because she's going to give me a word of encouragement. And guess what, Mom? If I ever need a really great recommendation letter, I know you are the one to write it for me. Here in Matthew chapter 20, it sounds like James and John's mother is writing them a recommendation letter. She says, "Jesus, I have the perfect right hand and left hand men for you. Have you met my sons, James and John? They would be perfect for your kingdom. I know we're getting ready to get this thing going, and I just have this little request for you. After all, our family has been following you." And she might have thought, well, this is not an unreasonable request. Earlier in the Gospel of Matthew, who is it that Jesus chooses to come with him onto the Mount of Transfiguration and see his glory? It's Peter, James, and John. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and their mother is quite pleased by this development. She's there, and in the previous chapter of Matthew, they started traveling towards Jerusalem, and Jesus' disciples, both male and female, were traveling with him to Jerusalem, and it seems like the mother of James and John, Zebedee's wife, is part of that group, and they are traveling together, and this was what they were expecting would happen next. Jesus would go to Jerusalem, and he would set up his kingdom. He would kick out those nasty Romans. He would rule. He could rule. He'd shown them he could feed people. He could raise people. He'd heal people. He would be the best ruler ever, and they were sure this is what was going to happen, and Zebedee's wife was sure she knew where her son should be in that organizational chart. Jesus addresses the two sons. "Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink?" And they said, "We're able." Public service announcement. Don't say you can drink someone else's cup until you know what's in it. So I went to Twee with someone that you know well, that happens to be the lead pastor of this church. We were going there to have a little meeting outside of the regular meeting here at the church office, and he had already ordered something to drink at that coffee shop on Magnolia Avenue, Twee. He had ordered something. And he asked me, he turned and looked at me, "Would you like anything?" I had not had time to look at the menu. So I said, "Sure, I'll have whatever you're having." So there we were sitting at the table with large what I thought was an iced coffee. I discovered later that cold brew does not mean just iced coffee. Apparently, you do some special process to the beans, and there's a lot more caffeine. And guess what? If you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit smaller than Pastor Icky. And apparently, my body doesn't metabolize caffeine quite as quickly as his. And all night, I was thinking to myself, Pastor Icky, you did me in. And he's not here today, so I can talk about him. Public service announcement: do not say you can drink what someone else is drinking until you know what's in that cup. James and John said, we are able to drink the cup that you're drinking. And I imagine that they thought this was the cup of celebration. This was the cup like at the Passover meal. This was the celebratory cup that they would drink. But Jesus knew it was the cup of suffering. It was the cup that he says later in Matthew in that Garden of Gethsemane, Lord, please take this cup from me. I would rather not drink it, but if this is the only way, if the only way is through, I'll drink it. That was the cup Jesus was talking about. The rest of the disciples must have thought that Jesus was talking about the cup of celebration as well. Because when they heard about this little escapade that had happened on the side, they were livid. Have you ever felt that anger? How come they're getting the promotion when I'm the one who does all the work behind the scenes? Why is it that they're getting what should be coming to me? Who does she think she is? Why is it that he gets this and this and this, and I'm still waiting my turn? That was the anger that the other 10 felt when they heard about this request, dividing up the seats in the kingdom. Now, the deep irony of this story is where it fits in the Gospel of Matthew. Guess what has just happened before Zebedee's wife makes her request? Right before that, Jesus had told them what's coming. Matthew 20, verse 17, while Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside by themselves and said to them on the way, look, we're going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and scribes. They will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. And on the third day, he will be raised. What part of handed over to death did you not understand? Right before that, Jesus had told a story of the landowner. You might have heard this one. He hires workers for his vineyard, but he hires them all at different times of the day. He hires some early in the morning, and then he keeps getting more people to get into his vineyard until the very end when there's only a few hours left. And then he goes to pay them. And he pays the last ones first. And guess what? He pays them a denarius, which was the living wage of the day. That's what you would need to buy your food and stay where you're staying for that day. It was a living wage. And he kept going down the list, and the all-day workers were very happy with their denarius that they were expecting until they saw the guys that had only worked an hour or so got the same as they did. And then the landowner says, am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? Are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last. That's Matthew 19, 15, and 16. Am I not allowed to do what I choose to do with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? Jesus' landowner, in this story, Jesus' landowner was not really giving people what they had earned. He was giving them what they needed for that day. He was not giving them, he was going to give them a living wage, no matter how long they had worked. Because Jesus was describing an upside-down kingdom where the last are first and the first are last. But the disciples are still trying to operate in a different kind of kingdom where everyone gets what's coming to them. That wasn't Jesus' way. That wasn't his kingdom. And so he pulls the disciples aside. You know that Roman rulers lord it over people and their tyrants. Guess what? That's not the kingdom I'm setting up. Don't be like that, Jesus says. Not in my house. Matthew 20, verse 26. It will not be so among you, but whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave. Jesus says, if you want to be first, then be like a slave. Our kids like to be first. We've had many battles in our house over who will be the first. Every day it seems like we're fighting over who's the first to get inside the door after getting out of the car, who's the first to go up the stairs, who's the first to go down the stairs, who's going to get their food served first. But recently, we stopped fighting over who's first. We started fighting over who would be second. And it's because of this little saying that we've banned from our house. Jesus said, not in my house. This saying is not happening in our house. And I hesitate to tell you what it is, parents, because your children may start saying it. So please tell them this is not a saying that they should have in their house. But I wonder if you've already, or you already all know this saying. It goes like this. First is the worst. Second is the best. Third is the one. You've been spared. You've been spared. Third is the one with the hairy chest. We have 3 children, and this does not go well at our house. And so we keep telling them not to say this. In fact, just yesterday, I heard my husband tell the kids, stop saying that. Why? Because whenever you say that, someone ends up in tears. No one's happy. And guess what? That's what happens with comparisons. That's what happens with comparisons. And Jesus turns the whole competition on its head. If you want to be first, be like a slave. If you want to be great, then serve. The word for servant in Greek that Jesus used here is diakonos. Diakonos, do you recognize that? Deacon, servant, it's the same word, diakonos. Jesus said, if you want to be great, be a deacon. How many of you are in here are deacons? Who's my deacons? Yes, I see one. I see some of you just aren't raising your hand. I know we have more deacons out there. Oh yes, thank you. If you want to be great in God's kingdom, it says be a deacon. Why is that? It's because of what Jesus says in the very next line. He says this, just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and give his life a ransom for many. Let me put that in there with that one Greek word. Just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to diakonos, to be a deacon and to give his life a ransom for many. Jesus came to be a deacon, a servant. In our series on being well, today the practice we're talking about is choosing generosity. Choosing generosity. The word generous, I didn't know this, learned that this week. The word generous comes from Latin generosus, and it means of good stock or of noble birth. It's interesting that they would make that connection between someone who's giving and kind, of someone of being of good birth, of noble stock, but maybe they were onto something more amazing than we would have thought. When we choose generosity, we're showing what stock we come from. We're showing whose children we really are. We're acting like sons and daughters of the living God. That's what it means to choose generosity. To the church in Philippi, Paul wrote these words, Philippians 2, verse 5 through 8. Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who, though he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be grasped, but he emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, a slave, Assuming human likeness and being found in appearance as a human, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Biblical scholars believe that this is one of the earliest hymns in the church. This hymn, it starts out with Jesus emptying himself, going down and down and down and down. He goes down. He's not grasping for God, but he's becoming a human being, and not only any kind of human being, he's becoming a criminal that dies on a cross. Down, down, down. When we choose generosity, we're following the way of Jesus. Instead of status, we're going for service. Instead of worrying about what we get, what am I going to get out of this event? What am I going to get out of this church? What am I going to get out of this project? I'm focused on what am I going to give? What am I going to give to this community? What am I going to give to this family? What am I going to give to this church? What are we going to give? Every time we choose generosity, we are following in the way of Jesus. We're living as generous people, as children of the living God. We're living in Jesus' way. So every time you go and you click on the website and you go to www.lostsierra.church/give and you give your tithes and offerings, or you walk out the door and you put something in that basket, you are choosing generosity. You're living in the way of Jesus. For those of you who are new to this community, let me give you a little behind-the-scenes view of how our system works, what actually happens to those dollars when you choose to be generous with your finances. Where do those go? And let me explain that just a little bit. When you give a tithe, that means a tenth or 10% of your overall income. In the Seventh-day Adventist church that we're a part of, that tenth, that tithe, it goes to the local conference and all around the world, and it comes back to this church in the form of pastors and education, helping with our educational system. And so this is from our vision night. In January every year, we have a vision night that shows our giving from the last year, and then what our budget is for the next year. And we hope that you will come to that. We'll announce that later. It's in January, our vision night. But you see the top number there, $1,327,192. Those dollars are money that people marked tithe, and they gave it here at La Sierra University Church, and that is going to go to the conference and around the world. And please keep giving tithe, because how much tithe we share as a church determines how many pastors get to stay here at our church. So please keep giving your tithe, because we all like to be here, and we enjoy being here. And that's important, so don't forget it. Thank you very much. So tithe. And then you'll see below that the local church revenue and other revenue. Under that local church revenue, those are your offerings. Your offerings. And offerings are whatever God puts on your heart to give. Some people choose to give a certain percentage, like 5%, or a double tithe, 10% for offerings. But this is our budget for this year. I'm sorry, I'm getting into the nitty-gritty, but generous has numbers to it as well, what it looks like as us as a church family. So this is our budget for 2025, and in very shortly, you're going to hear end of the year giving, and that means that we all together as a church family, we want to make sure that we actually make it to that number right there in our local church giving and our general fund. And so these are all the different places that your money goes when you give it to our general church fund. Helping with having an office team, going toward all the different ministries, paying for and making sure we can repair things like what happened last week, caring for our La Sierra Academy, our facility and grounds. So thank you so much for all of you for giving towards this collective journey. But finances is not the only way that we see people's generosity here at this church, in this community. Every time you give of your time and your talents, you're choosing generosity. And we have so many deacons here at this church. Did you know we have 384 deacons at this church? They're not all deacons. but they're all serving in many different ways, right? 384. And if you go to this lawsierra.church/ministries, that's where we put our ministry placement team report. And you can go look and see all the names of all the different people that are serving to make our community happen day in and day out and be service to our community. Some are called deacons, and you'll see them with the red badges at the doors on the exit. Some of our servants are called greeters, and they wear green badges, and you see them when you come in, and they welcome you to come here. Some are called our cafe team, and if you've never been down there, they serve drinks and amazing soups and all sorts of yummy things downstairs, and they wear our blue tags. And if you go through that list, you'll see children's ministry, musicians, AV people. You see people who lead life groups and Sabbath schools and social events, and people who sit on the board, and our elders and finance committee and youth and young adult leaders, and our food pantry plus and our wellness warehouse volunteers who serve the community week after week. This last Wednesday, I stopped by our food pantry plus to say hi to a few people and to see a few faces. There's Teresa from the Thrifty Box, the one you heard about the Christmas sale. And there are two Steves there that happen to be in that back room. And these guys are amazing. They take electronics that may have gone to the trash, and they rescue them. They figure out how they work and how all these things to put together, and then they put them back into the wonderful community instead of landing in a landfill. Isn't that incredible work? Amen. Thank you so much. They're saving the world, one electronic device at a time. These guys work back there, and Steve actually told me, he didn't know I was preaching about this today, but he said to me, you know what, you stand up there and preach, I work back here. And that's exactly what we need. We need all of us giving in the ways that we are called to give. I want to show you our youngest Food Pantry Plus volunteer right now. This is 1.5-year-old Anthony giving a high five to Daniel after helping get food boxes out to our community. We thank all the volunteers, Liz and Darren, who are elders that oversee our Food Pantry Plus. We thank Bernina and Ninau. Thank you for overseeing our wellness warehouse. We could not do this without your generosity, without you choosing generosity week after week after week, and all the volunteers who help. If you have not found a place to serve yet, you can go to lawsierra.church/volunteer, and we will help you get connected. If you're facing food insecurity this Thanksgiving, our food pantry is open on Wednesday. Please come. And if you want to serve and you're off, please fill out that form, and I will help get you connected so that you can serve and you can help the community. When we choose generosity, we're choosing to believe that a living is not something to be earned. It is a gift from a loving God. Amen? The next time we see James and John's mother is at the cross. Matthew 27, verse 55 says, "Many women were also there, looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee." She's there at the cross. She sees Jesus drink the cup. Acts 12, verse 2 tells us that her son James is killed with the sword on the order of King Herod. Her son John outlives all the other disciples and dies a natural death, but experiences exile on the Isle of Patmos, and he drinks the cup too. Mark names the woman at the cross as Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and Salome. So some scholars think that Salome is the name of the mother of James and John, the wife of Zebedee. These are the same three women that Mark names at Jesus' tomb when they see an angel that tells them that Jesus is risen. I like the idea, and I hope it's the case, that James and John's mother got to see the risen Christ. I know she was at the cross, but I hope it is true. I hope it is the case that she gets to see a glimpse of that cup of celebration that she was so looking forward to drinking. I hope she gets to see some of the joy that comes from following Jesus in a life of service. This last March, we made the fateful decision to attend a St. Patrick's Day puppy event. Now, we had prepared ourselves for the possibility of having a dog. We always said we would never have a dog or a cat while we had any diapers in the house. So the diapers were gone, and we also had a fence in our backyard. So we were prepared somewhat for the concept of having a dog, but we were not planning that day to get a dog. But we went to the St. Patrick's Day event, and there we met a dog. Her name was Ella. And she was so friendly with the kids, and she was so soft, and she was so beautiful. And technically, we couldn't officially adopt her right away because she wasn't spayed yet. She was from the county, and they would get her spayed. And so we weren't 100% sure, but we thought, well, it's just fostering for now. We'll take her home. And so we took her home, and my husband, Mike, he went out to the store to get dog food, and we didn't even know about a crate or anything like that, and we didn't know how much dogs chew things. She was about 10 months old at the time in March, and so she chews things. Can I say that again? So she's turned our world upside down. Our house, our backyard are not the same. She's chewed our backyard furniture. She chewed one of those pillows. We came home one day, and there was snow all throughout our backyard. What is that? Oh, that's from the pillow. That's no more there anymore. Okay. We got those covers from the backyard, and that worked for a while, but then she figured out how to chew the fasteners and pull the whole cover off. She's chewed shoes, clothing, toys. She loves chewing things. And we discovered, because we just had to know, so we did that DNA test. She's 32% Siberian Husky, 9% German Shepherd, and 9% Terrier, 16 different breeds. She loves to run. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's Mike, and in front of him is Bella. And I am offering her to you, not to keep, but if you want to train for a 5K and you want to increase your time, she loves to run. She needs to run more so she doesn't chew as much. So if anybody wants to borrow our dog to pull you along, you wear the little bit, she'll increase your time by at least a minute a mile, I promise. As if we didn't have enough to do already with 3 children and both working full time, we brought home a dog. We chose generosity, and guess what? She gives life and love back to us again and again and again. There's something very special about having someone there to greet you at the door. So happy to see you, no matter what. And the kids are a little bit less arguing about who's first. They just want to go see Bella. At the beginning, we had told them, we're fostering her for right now. And again, they keep asking, Bella is our dog, right? And we're like, yes, she's our dog. She is our dog for good. I wonder if God is calling you to make a claim this Thanksgiving. Maybe there's a pet waiting for you to claim them at an animal shelter. Maybe there's someone who needs a gift from you, not because they earned it, but because everything that we have been given comes from an incredibly generous, loving God. Maybe there's a ministry here at the church that is waiting for you to claim it as your own. Choosing service instead of seeking status. Focusing on what you can give instead of what you can get. It is messy You may end up with things strewn across your backyard, but I can tell you, it's worth it. It's worth it.